All right, good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call our work session to order. Our first item of business is our monthly financial update from our CFO, Ms. Pickle. Welcome. Good evening.
So this is the financial update through March of 2026. We're at 75% of the budget here. So we're almost there. Feels like it's just getting faster and faster as the year goes on. So we are at about 80% of what we, for the property tax, we're about 80%. So that's not quite as bad as anticipated it might be for the revenue shortfall, although we don't anticipate getting a ton more. So I think we'll end up being about 85% of what we had budgeted. So overall, it's not as bad as it could have been. The delinquent property tax that we implemented this year has helped to make up some of that difference. But for all of the revenues altogether, we're at 82% for the year. So some of those lines are over, some of them are a little bit under, but we expect some of those are quarterly payments, and we'll probably get those this month. We recognize next month when we have already collected the majority of what we're going to collect this year for the property taxes. But we remain at just about 85% versus 80% on that one. But we're doing really well. We're at 82% overall for the year, and we're only at 75% of the budget here. So still looking pretty good. As far as expenditures go, we're at 71%, but we're at 75% of the budget year, so we're under. So our belt tightening plan has worked, and it's starting to show more and more each month that goes by. All the departments are doing very well, and we have put a spending, I don't want to say spending freeze, but we have asked them to slow down their spending for the last month and a half of the year. So that should help to even that out and kind of land the plane right on the runway, hopefully, as far as expenditures go. So the general fund is looking really good. Everybody's doing really well. That has applied also to the solid waste and sanitation, the stormwater as well, because we just, broadly across the city, even though it was the general fund that was experiencing the revenue shortfall, everybody across the city has done their part. So all of the other funds are looking really good as well. Revenues and expenditures are right where we expect them to be for the year. So overall, looking very good. Everybody's doing a very good job with the belt tightening and watching their bottom line. So everybody's focused on the budget, but still focused on this current year. So
thank you.
Do you have any questions?
You said, is there like a deadline for turning in purchase order requests?
Mid-15th.
Okay, so will that help us kind of have like a pretty good idea of where we might be ending this fiscal year at?
Yes.
Okay, before we maybe, finish out this fiscal year even?
Yes, we have asked everybody to use these non-emergency spending. So anything that's an emergency, obviously we need to do it to keep up operations. But anything that's not utilities, anything that's not necessary, without some distance, doing that after the 15th.
Okay, after May 15th.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments?
No, just thank you for the goal and the discipline. Yeah, that's what it takes.
Yep. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to our very special, important part of our budget workshop number 3 today. It is our capital improvement plan presentation with Director Slay.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Give us a second to get this going. So I thought it was important for us to start and take a look back at where we started. This first slide represents, back in August of 24 is when we first started talking about capital improvements planning. If you recall, we talked about this was our season of planning. Not only were we dealing with our comprehensive plan, we were also exploring our Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So how all of these start to funnel down, identifying scope and timing, explore funding options, debt service analysis, and prioritization by commission. So looking back, when we say a season of planning, this is really what it takes. It is not something that happens overnight. It requires a lot of work, a lot of input from various departments, and in reality, just a lot of visioning. Where do we see these things going, and how do we start to manage the time horizon of those events? So make sure I get here. Here we go. So this is what's bringing us finally to April of 2026, is to take a look at the city's capital improvement plan. So this presentation will cover some pretty specific topics. What is a CIP? Why does Red Bank need a CIP? How will the CIP be funded? Review the actual CIP that's been proposed, and then we'll take a look at the CIP overview. So what is a CIP? A capital improvements plan, or a CIP for short, is a multi-year planning and budgeting tool that guides how a city invests in major public infrastructure and long-term assets. Rather than only focusing on an annual fiscal budget and the day-to-day operations, a CIP looks ahead, typically over a 5 to 10 year period, to anticipate community needs, align projects with strategic goals, and more so to ensure responsible and timely use of public funds. A CIP helps city leadership make informed decisions about when major expenditures should occur, how much they will cost, and what funding sources, such as grants, bonds, or local revenues, will be used. So why does Red Bank need a CIP? Serves as a roadmap to identify, prioritize, and adequately fund transportation improvements like roadway repairs, new sidewalks, and sewer expansions, public facilities and park improvements like building repairs and maintenance, and new public works facility, as well as expanding parks. It also addresses vehicle and equipment needs, like replacing police vehicles, large-scale equipment like front-end loaders and garbage trucks. So how will the CIP be funded? Primarily through general fund revenues, including property taxes, local option sales tax, state share revenues, and business-related revenues. This approach ensures that capital investments are aligned with the city's financial capacities. By relying on the general fund, Red Bank is emphasizing fiscal discipline, phasing investments over time, leveraging debt, and maintaining long-term financial stability. While the general fund serves as the primary funding source, the city will continue to monitor opportunities to supplement these investments when appropriate. Most often, grant funding. A lot of times, grants and other opportunities for cost share pop up throughout the year. So it's not practical and feasible to plan depending on a grant, which may not come through. So what does Red Bank's CIP look like? In your packet, you have a reduced version, but I also printed off a larger version for us to be able to walk through. It makes it a little bit easier to track as we go. So be mindful, there is a lot of information here. So if you'll bear with me as we walk through, we'll be plenty of opportunity for questions and additional dialogue as to what is in here and what is being proposed. So first and foremost, the Red Bank CIP does utilize general fund use only. What this plan is proposing is a horizon from fiscal year 27 to fiscal year 31. So that's that 5-year horizon. If you'll take a look at the bottom right hand of your spreadsheet, fiscal year 32 and 33 have been hashed out. Not that they're not important, but they're beyond this 5-year horizon, but projects are still mindful that will come into play for those fiscal years as we look forward. Your yellow column represents the current debt service that the city pays. This is annual. It incorporates multiple notes that have been collected, multiple projects that have been contracted, and we are obligated to pay that annual debt service until that debt service rolls off. Dark blue represents transportation improvement projects that are currently under contract. We often refer to those as our TIP projects. If you take a look at the first one, the resurfacing of Dayton Boulevard from Browntown to Gad, this project has been on the works since 2020, but it will come to its completion in fiscal year 26. Director Tate, matter of fact, has a resolution this evening for you on that contract to actually get that paving underway. So you see no representation of that in 27. Moving further down, another TDOT project, a TIP project, is the ADA upgrades, which is estimated to be completed in fiscal year 27. So we've reflected that matching portion, which is 20%. Not 100% of the project, but it's the 20% that Red is responsible for. The next project is the Low Water Bridge replacement. Again, this project was initiated back in 2020, and we anticipate, if everything goes according to plan, don't hold me to it, but we anticipate in fiscal year 29 completion. So again, those final numbers, that 20% is representative of what Red Bank owes. The last on the dark blue of the TIP projects is our Bicycle Boulevard, or the CMAC project. We refer to that a lot as the Bicycle Boulevard. It is reflected here simply because it is under contract and we are obligated to see it through, but there's no funds allocated in 27 from general fund. State Street Aid will finish that project out this coming fiscal year. So moving on to the light blue, we're looking at, again, transportation improvement projects that have been prioritized by staff, but they do not have current contracts. You will see we have 5 that had originally been listed. The top 2 are what have been prioritized as feasible for funding. However, the sidewalk grouping won't be in play till fiscal year 28. These projects are in harmony with the NPO's work schedule for TIP projects. So that's when we start seeing those come on board. Ashmore Avenue, that's another one that is anticipated to begin in fiscal year 29. And again, these are reflective of Red Bank's 20% match. Moving on down the line, the beach area, this identifies vehicle and equipment purchases and needs. Anything that is identified either independently or collectively over 50,000 in value is what pushes something to your CIP. So what we have done is based on departmental needs, based on some fleet management recommendations, to be able to lay these out on the horizon of when do we replace what and at how much. So you'll see that there are some staggered notes that we are proposing that will come into play. Fiscal year 27 reflects the initial for police vehicles and a fire vehicle. Further down that list, you'll see highlighted fiscal year 32. This is in reference to the new fire apparatus that we know is going to be coming due. Again, it's highlighted for fiscal year 32 and 33 because we will need to make an initial down payment for them to actually start building the apparatus that we need. The actual long-term debt payment wouldn't come on board until fiscal year 33. So again, those numbers are reflected here. They do not reflect inflation. That's something that we just can't hit into this type of a CIP at this time. But no, as we move forward, costs do fluctuate based on inflation. But it's very critical to keep this on our CIP so we don't lose sight of that major investment. Looking at the orange stripe, this is something that's new. Facility maintenance and repairs is ongoing. Historically, our fleet manager or our facilities manager has been able to utilize ARPA funds for major improvements to some of our facilities and our properties. However, moving forward, we know there's always going to be a long-term maintenance associated with those properties. So by identifying it in a CIP, it allows him to actually plan better for the year. It allows him to move forward without constantly coming back to commission for a budget amendment. Doesn't change the fact that any project over 10,000 would still come to you. Those are our procurement policies. So it would still be presented to you in a resolution for approval, but it should already be budgeted for. Moving down into the dark green, we're looking at public works / parks. These are current contracted services that we anticipate completed in fiscal year 26. The first of those contract services is Kimberly Horn. They are working on some phase one concept developments for us to reflect the Hickson and the former middle school site, phase one build outs. Again, that's already budgeted in fiscal year 26, so that's not a new expense. Same thing with the barge contract. This is for the Public Works facility. That gets us to a 30% design document. It also is helping us to replat the property. Historically, the property came into our hands from another government agency, wasn't necessarily required to have anything surveyed. But anytime you're looking at making a major investment that requires funding tied to it, you need to have documentation that you have clear, free ownership of that property. The Public Works facility now, it is adjoining to American Water property. So we know the actual right of way and the actual road bed are not in line with each other. So Barge has worked several months in doing a lot of title deed research. We have those plats that we are presenting to American Water. At the end of the day, it just becomes a swap. What is on our side is theirs. We're going to swap that out. And I think, if I recall, we're looking at probably less than a half an acre either way. So preliminary conversations with American Water, they understand what we're doing. When we do get to the point of actually building a new facility, we will also have those in the plans to actually dedicate them a separate drive. Right now, they actually come through our Public Works facility property to access the water tower on their property. So we will set up and have clear separation at that time. But again, it's critical to have a current plat that reflects everything as it truly is. And it is worth noting that what's got us to this point, that has been utilizing 100% of ARPA funds. That was a dedicated resource that this commission had laid out early on with ARPA funding to achieve this goal. So we're close to finding that closure with the 30% build out. Looking into the light green, these are Public Works / Parks prioritized projects that have no contracts currently. Just as I said, talking about the Public Works facility, the next step of that is to get us to 100% design. That takes time. Right now, like I said, we're finishing up fiscal year 26. It'll take a little bit more time to really get things recorded and kind of settle and lay out. So we anticipate using general fund, 50% of general fund. You guys are aware that Public Works does share funds with other fund sources from State Street Aid, from solid waste, and from stormwater. So to make that scale a little bit more in harmony, it would only pull 50% of that from general fund. And again, we have that on the horizon for fiscal year 28, is when we will spend those next 2 years getting to that 100% build out. So again, the next line for the Public Works facility, we have a horizon of fiscal year 30 to go out for construction. Next on the list, we're looking at the North Red Bank Park. This is the Hickson parcel we refer to often. This fiscal year 27 does propose a phase one activation. We're proposing 125 from general fund and matching that with 125,000 from the Hamilton County Lean Into Communities grant. This actually would give us build out capacity on the phase one of 250 value at that 125 from general fund. Moving down the list again, the next phase of that would be a phase two. This is all hinging on phase one. If you recall, one of our biggest hurdles that we've been trying to overcome is conversion compliance. To make us eligible to even apply for future parks grants, we have to be in compliance. So this is, again, being measured in our approach, get us through phase one. That gets us that conversion letter and frees us up to seek additional grant resources, which again would happen in phase two. We anticipate that coming online in fiscal year 29 after we have positively activated a phase one and then get that conversion compliance note started. Next on the list is activating a phase one of the former middle school site. This includes a minimum of an ADA restroom with its parking, utilities necessary, temporary stage, and some temporary trail activity. The goal here on a phase one is to activate the property. As we know now, we have people who enjoy using it. we're not able to relocate some of our festivals, our food truck Fridays. That's the goal, is to activate that property. But we are a government. We are responsible to make sure certain checks are taken care of, especially when it comes to ADA and to parking. So this starts small, but as what's being proposed is a footprint to build bigger as we come on with more revenue, potential grant matching to fully see that development. But we are proposing it is necessary for $200,000 to get us to that phase one. As I said, phase two would come on board probably in fiscal year 30. Again, dependent on conversion compliance, dependent on grant application cycles. But we know that once we get over that hurdle, we do become eligible for some 50-50 matches on a lot of parks and recreation grant resources that are out there. Next on the list, and I should say last on the list, is pink. This is fiscal year 32 plus, simply because we will be having a pool conversation. We enjoy the pool. It is a valued asset here in Red Bank, but we know that we do a heavy lift annually to keep that pool operating and going. Your organization that manages it day in, day out, and then of course, Public Works and the facilities manager, they put a lot of effort to keep that going. So we know that that's on the horizon. So it's worth keeping on this list. So let me bring your eye back down to fiscal year 27. The gray column all the way down. As you walk down this capital plan, the subtotal comes to a $1,177,039. When you back out the initial yellow line of current debt service, which is $522,827, which is currently in your current tax rate, that's the bill that's being paid now. When you subtract that, we're looking at new capital proposed for fiscal year 27 is at $654,212. When you look at that and you figure out based on, we know and we average 1 cent of tax rate equals $50,000 in revenue. So simple math calculation, we know that it takes 13 cents of property tax to cover $654,212. So this starts to get a little bit, just follow me. So if we follow down and we say that if in fiscal year 27, we have that 13-cent increase to cover this fiscal year 27 worth of capital, then as you push it to the right through that horizon, where all these other lines come on, and you remove, again, this new capital of $654,212, this second to the bottom line gives you the number for what is still to be funded from a capital perspective. Below that, it also illustrates how many additional cents of a tax rate would be necessary to cover that full bill moving through the 5-year horizon. It's a lot of information to digest, but the intent of the capital improvements plan is to paint that picture, have a good understanding of, remember the dream and the dollars we talked about for several years. It's a balance. And the true way to balance that is to look at that horizon. What are we proposing to do? When does it come online? And what is the prioritization? So, taking an overview of what the fiscal year 27 CIP budget itself proposes. This shows what that looks like. 44.4% is current debt service. Transportation is 13.2% of the proposed capital budget. Vehicles and equipment, 8.3%. Facilities maintenance is 6.3%. And then activating of park sites, which is the North Red Bank Park and the former middle school site, is 27.6% of that budget.
Thank you. Thank you so much. This is absolutely incredible. I just want to say, I think I speak for all of us when I say, like, it has been a long time coming for us to have any kind of, map of the future that we need to plan for in our city. I said it before and I'll say it again, we've existed for 71 years and we've never had a capital improvement plan. We have never been planning for the future. We've always been waiting to react to things that are become an emergency. They always cost more. We're not anticipating those things, so we're not planning for, finances for the future. We've never done that, ever. So this is a huge, huge thing for our community that you have worked on this, I know with staff, for 2 years and then some. And, we've been having these conversations for that whole amount of time. And it's really incredible, the product that you have here today, to help really give us a bigger picture view, but condensed down into line items that are easy to read and understand. And I just want to say thank you.
Well, also understand, we started this journey by simply identifying all of the needs. So this 5-year horizon does not represent everything.
Right.
We do have an essential software that actually helps us capture what your capital looks like. They call them charters. So information and needs don't ever disappear. It may not be right to show up on our horizon, but they still live there. I think historically, we've always just been dependent on a particular department head to always remember what it is that you need. And if you didn't talk about it this year, talk about it next year. Hopefully this gives not only the city as a whole, but also department heads to rest assured that they've made their point clear. It rests in the essentials and it doesn't just fall off the topic of conversation because it's not in this particular 5-year horizon.
Right, because our board of commissioners will change over, leadership, will
Yes.
change over. So we need this to be something that lasts,
Sustainable.
yes,
Yes, yeah.
through the years.
And I hope I didn't go through too fast. I know it's a lot of information to digest. And again, our team that has gotten together for at least 3 months, it seems like at least weekly. So it's not just myself, it's been the whole city leadership team has contributed to what goes in here, how do we prioritize things, and where do we just simply start?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
We have questions or comments at this time. Okay.
If I could direct us back to the light blue section, if you want to go back a slide.
Yeah, hold on a second.
Under transportation improvement projects, the light blue, the second light blue section, these are the projects that don't have contracts yet.
Correct.
Now we have the sidewalk groupings, we have Ashmore Avenue, and then we have several projects that are struck through. And I appreciate you including those projects so that we can have this conversation.
Absolutely.
You used the language that the first 2 projects were, quote, in harmony with the NPO's goals. And also our goals as the city of Red Bank, our transportation goals. I would argue that the remaining 3 projects that are currently struck out are also in harmony with the NPO's goals. The NPO has approved these projects in the same manner. These are all things that have been identified in our transportation study as needs for our city, and they reflect our Safe Streets for All goals that we have carried over as a top 5 commission goal for 3 retreats running now, I believe. So, well, I understand that they've been struck, for financial reasons, because including these in the capital improvement plan, one is challenging because we don't have hard numbers associated with them because we don't have a contract. But 2, because of course taxes are challenging. But I just want to make the argument that these projects are no less necessary, less crucial to the safety of our community, and that, while we can save a few cents on property taxes by not funding them as capital improvement project, we may be pushing the possibility of these projects out an unknown amount of time, at least 5 years, and that's where this capital improvement project is. So we're saying no to these projects for 5 years minimum. It could be 10 years, it could be forever. The last one in particular, the Safe Streets for All demonstration grant, that's where we're supposed to have, tactical urbanism type of demonstration projects throughout the city to improve safety and traffic flow. That one is one that might not, an opportunity that may not arise again. And in fact, this opportunity itself may not come to fruition with our current federal climate. But if we strike it, it certainly will not be an opportunity that represents itself for some time. And so I'm very reticent to strike any of these projects. Easton Avenue sidewalks is not just a hazard for the neighbors who live on that street, for people that I see when I pass through that area walking very dangerously in that area on a regular basis, but also our own public works sanitation crews that have to pick up there, for the people who will get into crashes trying to go around the sanitation crews when they shouldn't, residents and drivers and passers through. So not only are we leaving, by not budgeting for this, what we're not budgeting for if we cancel these projects is the 20% match, is our 20% match for these grant funded projects.
It's the 20% match in the long haul. The initial is still 100%. These
It'll
are
get reimbursement.
reimbursable,
Right.
correct?
Reimbursement grants.
These are reimbursements. So yes, it does come down to a matter of cash flow.
Mhm.
That became one of our prioritizations to pay attention to which ones can we feasibly take on, knowing that we put that 100% and we wait for the 80% to be reimbursed.
Yeah.
Not to discount that we did strike these. It was not done lightly. We did run some of these numbers to figure out what that would look like. If we kept all 4 of the TIP projects, the total estimated cost of construction is $6.7 million.
You mean 3, right? The 3 that are struck out. Easton Avenue, Memorial.
If we kept talking about the sidewalk grouping, Ashmore, Easton, and Memorial, those are the 4 TIP projects.
Oh, I see, TIP projects, sorry,
TIP
thank you.
projects.
That's the
Yes.
last Safe Streets for All.
That's the federal thing, yeah.
Correct. Those 4, again, had a project total estimate cost of $6.7 million. Our 20% is $1.3 million. So again, taking a look at how do we prioritize, which ones do we believe that we needed to take on and we could feasibly bake into the budget as it's proposed. Again, looking at the Safe Streets for All, yes, that's from the Federal Highway Administration. One reason it's not in here at all is simply we have no details. So at the earliest it would have been considered would be fiscal year 28. But again, that initial cost is a $5 million project, with our share being 1.3.
It's 1.4.
1.4, yes. So most critically is taking a look at it through that cash flow lens. What does that do to the city of Red Bank's books? How do we continue to front? We know historically, TDOT projects are not as timely as we would like for them to be. We have no control over that. They have their internal system and they are a network of themselves. So unfortunately, that is one of the risks that we take on with any TDOT TIP project, is we know coming in that it could be a while. Sometimes we hit it and it smooths, reimbursements are in line. We hope moving forward, any new ones, we have a better handle on that. Again, remember, 3 of those upper TIP projects those are legacy projects. We started those back in 2020. So initial conversations, initial people, they're not there anymore. So we still got to get through with those before we venture to take on more.
I think the resurfacing is actually from 29. Like, if I read the resolution correctly, that initially was awarded in 2019. So this is, these are, and nothing's, construction, then no construction has happened on that. So it's been almost 7 years going on 7 years.
And staff did not do this lightly. We spent endless opportunities debating and trying to prioritize for a recommendation. So again, it is a staff's recommendation for what the CIP looks like. But I hear you loud and clear.
Do you have the numbers for what the tax increase needed to fund would be if we included all 4 tip projects? Cause I'm thinking, you know, I know it's reimbursement, but we do eventually get reimbursed, and we're leaving by not allocating that 20%, we're leaving that 80% on the table. We're choosing not to invest the additional 80% that we could be getting in these grant funds into infrastructure of our city that's needed.
I would probably feel more comfortable going back to the table and getting with Chris and with, Greg to put together a horizon. What would that look like? I know we initially started just to have an idea of what would that do to just a current budget. Right now, just looking at what we had laid out, looking at all of the tip projects was going to put us at over $178,000 budget year. And then the Safe Streets for All was going to add another 208,000 to an annual budget.
Can we go back to the pie chart?
Mhm.
So again, something that gives me a little bit of heartburn about this is we've got 27.6% towards activation of sites. And that's desperately needed because we need to get through our conversion agreement, and that is a top commission goal. But then we only have 13.2%, less than half, towards transportation. And those, you know, our 5 commission goals, as we say, are listed in no particular order. You know, that I think we've seen them as being of similar weight of priority and importance as each other generally is how they've been considered. And so, you know, I'd really like to see that share of the pie for transportation to support our commission goal, which has been as perennial as our Parks and Rec goal, to be, you know, closer to a similar share, even if it requires, you know, a few more cents of tax increase to fund that. But of course, I've been going on and on. I'd like to hear my colleagues' thoughts on these projects in particular.
Can I ask a couple of questions? Go ahead,
Yeah,
after you.
I just want to make it clear, I know this is proposing is what is new.
Yes.
It doesn't take into account
And
the
it's only,
current
and it's only next year.
projects.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I was going to ask.
So if we look backwards, and looked at the TIP projects and the transportation projects that have already happened, yes, it would have a significant jump. So, just being mindful of that. I will also express being mindful of our Little Water Bridge replacement. Understanding we have yet to have final design documents to even put out to bid. So again, we know historically with TIP projects, inflation, current contracts that come in, we know our best guess is it usually misses the mark simply because we don't build bridges for a living. We have to wait and see what the industry tells us. So that is a particular TIP project that causes me a little bit of concern. And that's just the reality of that.
Right, because it's very possible it's gonna be significantly more money than you're anticipating.
And we've been very fortunate with MPO, through Director Tate's participation and constant communication, Vice Mayor Berry, for them to understand these projects that got let and started, 4, 5, 6 years ago, with no inflation numbers tied to those. So we've been very fortunate that some other funds from other jurisdictions went through the same process that we're having to take a look at. How do you reprioritize and what can you afford to do? And several of their projects got kicked back. So that funding was opened up and distributed back to us so that we can complete these TIP projects without so much of an impact on our general fund.
So just to clarify that, the current debt service of 522,827, that includes some current transportation or like ongoing?
I would say historical.
Historical,
It's historical.
okay.
I know that there's been some repair work that's had been done on roadways.
Mhm.
I know there's been some facility improvements. This has also been vehicle and equipment. Over the individual year, it collectively goes into a note.
Fire apparatus, City Hall.
Say that again?
The fire apparatus, the last one, and City Hall renovations.
Oh, okay.
Most recent fire trucks.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Yes.
Okay.
So that becomes legacy debt. It's already in motion. You're accounted for as far as your ongoing debt service.
So even when the project's complete, you're still paying for it, right?
Absolutely.
Years after.
Absolutely, that's generations.
Well, most of that legacy debt is rolling off.
Yes. So taking a look at that horizon, when you start looking at fiscal year 29, you really start to see a significant drop. Of course, by fiscal year 31, that's that last payment of that legacy debt. Also on that horizon, fiscal year 29 is when Hamilton County will have a reappraisal year again.
Yep.
So again, the whole reason you do a CIP and you look out what's coming up.
So on that note, as far as reappraisal year, as we know, well, it got messed up for us last year, but in the future, we know if our property values continue to increase over time, which seems to be the trend in Hamilton County, then 1 penny will go a lot further than it does today. Like before the reappraisal, our penny was worth like $33,000 or something. And now it's worth just over $50,000. So we, have on here 3 cents for FY 29. If property values go up and our penny's worth 75,000 instead of, whatever, so that might change what that might look like. So just wanted to tack on to that, what you were talking about as far as the reappraisal cycle.
Sure. Something else I want to point out, this is a capital improvements plan. It is not actually creating a capital budget as of yet. What's proposed in fiscal year 27 and then what we land on next year, that's where your CFO plans on actually creating in fiscal year 28. It will have its own freestanding capital budget. Right now, capital projects, capital investments, and capital payments, those are reflected in individual departments, and you'll see that at the very bottom line, it says capital. Moving forward, we will pull that out of each individual, and it will have its own freestanding budget. Makes it transparency, and it also puts us in line. We start evaluating that annually. It doesn't just become a afterthought or, wait a minute, I think we need something. It's painted in this picture, so it gets reviewed just like everything else during your budget planning cycles.
Thank you for that. And then I had a question about Director Tate. I don't know if you can answer this. The sidewalk groupings. Do you happen to remember the locations
That was
that were being proposed for those additional sidewalks?
Browntown, north of Browntown. The wall right down here between Greenleaf and Fair Street, and continuing the building out the complete sidewalk on Morrison Springs.
Greenleaf to Fair Street.
Fair Street. And well, Greenleaf to Newberry.
And when you say north of Browntown Road, do you mean on just one side?
We figured just on one side at the time. We were under a time crunch to get something together for the MPO,
Okay,
and there's right-of-way issues on the east side.
okay.
And so we weren't sure at the time about right-of-way procurement. So we went with what we knew we could build.
And that would be a continuation of the Hartman Hill sidewalk.
Yes,
That's,
yes,
yeah,
ma'am.
that's what I was gonna ask. And it would go all the way up to Gap Road?
All the way up to Cad Road.
I'm just very excited to hear that. I'm sorry. Before I got elected, that was one of the things I talked about. I live in North Red Bank, and that's one of the things I hear the most from our North Red Bank neighbors is why don't we have any sidewalks?
Mayor, Drake, add to this conversation what the repaving job's gonna do in a part of the J Boulevard as well.
Well, when we kick off construction, and I'll be sharing with my resolution presentation. There's a document on the website that you can link to the plans, but it will reduce traffic on Dayton Boulevard north of Browntown and Wicked to 3 lanes with a center turn lane all the way through to the Gab Road intersection. It will create a right turn lane going north to Appian Way and a right turn lane coming south at Browntown. And then what we're effectively doing is we're buying ourselves right of way on both sides of the road to give us enough room for sidewalk and bike lanes throughout that. Might still have to be on the east side. There may still be some right of way acquisition, but I believe looking at it in the future, we'll have enough capacity there that we can create that all the way, both sides, all the way through to the city limits. But the project though, the one project for this considered I did it as 3 separate projects, but the MPO combined it into a sidewalk grouping. But, our goal was to be able to keep it affordable and not have to do a lot of acquisition because we needed to get this in. We had a time crunch to get this in. We knew we could put the sidewalk on the west side, and that would give us connectivity all the way down Dayton Boulevard. At some point, you might have to cross over, but that would give you sidewalk connectivity all the way down to the city limits, all the way down to Signal Mountain Road. And then, of course, you know, we bought ourselves some extra capacity with the restock on State Route 8.
Incredible. Thank you. Thank you so much. So with that information, you know, the way I've been thinking about this and looking at this is sometimes we just have to say no to ourselves, even if it's something that we really, really want or we really know that we need. We need a lot of things in this city, like a lot of things. And we have made great strides these past 5 years getting to even this point. We have a lot of firsts for our city. Are actually paying attention to stormwater, which we never had done before. Really, not really and truly, and actually paying attention to parks. I know that seemed like a big piece of the pie for FY27, but it has not been a big piece of the pie ever, really, in our city. So we're kind of really behind investment in those kinds of spaces. And there's always going to be the opportunity to help maybe offset some of those costs, like Director Slay said, with grants in the future, which might open up that funding for some projects like the ones we have identified, like the TIP projects that we know would make everything safer, but that maybe we just can't financially take on right now.
And again, the desire and the need never go away. It will continue to stay in our essentials, our charters, for continued evaluation.
Right, and particularly, you know, it gives me a lot of heartburn to think about the Safe Streets for All grant, but it is such a heavy lift on our end. Well, like you said, having to pay that up front, $5 million, with,
I mean, rough.
well, 1.4 million or whatever for our piece. And then it's just a lot. And I just am really, unfortunately, I feel like we just can't take that on right now. With everything else that we know is coming down the pipeline in the next 5 years.
Something else I think is critical to reference, although it's not reflected in a CIP, and that is your staff resources and capacity. All of these projects do require a heavy lift from start to finish, along with the project we're trying to finish out, along with other operating ongoing day in, day out. I know my department alone, working through our Unified Development Code and recently our Tennessee Downtowns program, that's tremendous investment in Red Bank, but it's also a commitment of your staff resources. So that's another element that we take into consideration as to what can we take on, when, and how can we do that. So sometimes it's not exactly a dollar amount, it is your staff capacity to see it from start to finish.
Thank you for reminding us of that. We are a small but mighty staff, but
Yes.
we can only be so mighty
Yes.
with the time that we have in a day.
Yeah, but getting back to Vice Mayor Barry's question, I'll be happy to go back through and run some better numbers again. I don't feel comfortable doing it on the fly. And then any other comments and any inquiries that commission may have, we're happy to take the time, do some numbers and bring it back to you. That's the whole purpose of doing a CIP. You lay it out there and then you start to prioritize and you figure out how you want to fund it.
And there's the ability for it to be dynamic to a degree,
Correct.
right? If it's something we're saying is on the horizon for FY28, and we find an extra funding source, or, you know, things are going to change. there will be opportunities potentially that we, like you said, we can't anticipate and we can't bake into this, right?
And there will also be opportunities that come along that we will simply have to pass on. We are just not poised and capable of taking on every grant, every opportunity that comes along. And that's another tool that the CIP plays a heavy role in, is it comes to us, but we have to filter it through. Can it be achieved, and can it be incorporated into our current plan without throwing something else off the list?
Any further comments, questions?
Yeah, question and comment. Yeah, I think I might have missed it in conversation, but the dollar amounts associated with the Eastern Ave sidewalks and the memorial sidewalks, do we have that just kind of locked in?
I do.
The,
Easton was estimated at a construction value of 1.1 million. 20% Red Bank share would be 237,000. The memorial sidewalk, make sure I'm looking at this right.
Yeah, it's 80-20.
The memorial sidewalk was 1.2 million, with our 20% match being 241,000.
and let me say another decision on that too, if I may, was the time of the funding. The Memorial Drive funding wouldn't be available until FY 29. And so, you know, that's 2 years waiting.
Yeah.
So that was one of the decisions, of course. The Easton Avenue was also largely going to be funded in FY 29. There was going to be a sprinkle in 27 and a sprinkle in 28, but it was just going to be enough to do like a preliminary design, nothing to fully kick the project off until the big funds came in FY 29.
Yeah, I'd be kind of keen to see if we can sort of split the difference, like, you know, Anthony was saying, but, you know, subtract the Safe Streets for All and look at adding those two back in, sort of compromise. I mean, I drive Easton daily to get to work, and it's finished in pretty shaky state. You know, that should have been fixed at the time of construction. You know, I don't want to say too much about it, but I see some folks walking there, and it's amazing that they're still there day after day.
And again, I just want to reiterate, these are estimates.
Yeah, right.
And on current best guess right now, right? Knowing inflation, knowing construction prices, again, true costs don't really reveal themselves until you get to that design phase.
I
Which
understand.
again is why you spread these projects out.
And also staff capacity. We have a lot of projects that are already in motion right now that haven't even started construction, on top of the ones that we know are going to be coming, on top of the, you know, development of the park sites for a conversion agreement. So we have to be really mindful of that as well. Just continue to be mindful of how much we can ask of our staff to manage.
I do want to comment too, and just say that I really like the phase one activation for North Red Bank and former Griffin Middle School site. I guess
Critical community needs.
yeah, and sort of a casual translation of that means that we could potentially see our Christmas parade held there.
That's
this
the
year.
goal. That's
Yeah.
the goal.
So kind of cool to put that in perspective.
And it would open it up for, like you said, other community events like Food Truck Fridays and.
Yeah, and once you activate it, again, when you go to any type of an activity or an event, the first thing you look for is a restroom in the parking lot, and that's the last thing you look for when you leave. So when we go to activate a public property on behalf of the city, we have to check those boxes. So again, it's a phase one, but it'll be a tremendous impact. It'll also make it available for other other organizations in the community who want to utilize the space as well. Right now, we're limited to make that an option simply because we don't have the facilities to support it.
I think that's very much if you build it, they will come kind of scenario. Whether it's fire or fire.
I actually think that a lot of people are already there.
Right. Any other comments?
I do appreciate whoever is working on this stairwell. I know it's just the stone and the infrastructure, so thank you, Nate, for taking care of those gracious steps. I hope they stay there as it continue to build out, but, with the, potential 13-cent tax, I know that could go up, that could go down, is that just for this?
This conversation is capital only.
Okay.
Yeah, capital only. So big things, debt service, personnel, operating, and capital.
Sure.
So this is the capital key.
I have a related question with the former Reading wants to say, speaking of activating it, making it available for events. This timeline that's proposed on this capital improvements project, can you, speak to how that interacts with the Streamers Branch restoration that's planned for the city park? Because I know that's part of our consideration for getting that events out of that park to free that up.
Perfect scenario, we probably would have already seen what's happening. But again, anything that- correct. They are still trying to fine tune some of their design documents. Again, once we dream things, you put it out to the design world, you start getting probable cost of construction. It always comes back to the table. So we are working hand in hand with Hamilton County Water Quality to determine what at a minimum do we need to do, given the constraints of what that budget looks like. So again, I can't give a definite answer as to when something is proposed to start, but we know that that's what we envision for the property.
So they're not just waiting on us yet, but with this timeline, it's hopeful that as we move events out of that space soon, they'll be able to come in behind.
Correct, yeah, we have provided them that timeline of what that would look like if the event were to stay on site and if it would be a event. So they understand those dynamics. Like I said, it's still just trying to get down to some actual design and pretty much some construction costs that is within budget.
Commissioner Holmes, did you have any comments or questions at this time?
Not at this moment.
All right.
Thank you so much. Much
Yay.
appreciated.
I know. Incredible. Historic day.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to item 3 on our consent agenda, approve McKinney contract services for FY 27 for $85,951.44. Resolution number 26-1896. Director Slay.
Thank you. Hello again. This is an ongoing contracted service that we have for our animal control. McKinney has been a fantastic partner, I will say that. We did make the determination this calendar year, we needed to put out an RFP. Just to keep us in line with our procurement policies, we do contract statuses. After a window of time, you should put it back out there to see if there's something new that's come on board, another available vendor who can provide that. So we did release that RFQ, I believe, in January. Ran for a while. McKinney was our only submitter. And so again, this is supposed to be implemented for fiscal year 27, so it is included in my departmental budget. So we'll talk about that again next week and I'll do that presentation. But this contract does reflect a 3% increase from fiscal year 26 to 27. But again, it keeps us in harmony with our own purchasing.
Thank you very much. Any questions about that?
I do.
How often are they at the dog park to oversee that site?
I believe they have a regular schedule at least twice a week. I think the weekends is their heavy thing, but they are also looking at this signage after our contact. If a park visitor has a problem, there is the number call, call this number. So they are available.
And I will say I had a resident tell me the other day that they saw those signs where they hadn't seen them there before and there was a dog off leash and they were like, I knew exactly who to call. So they're very grateful for the signs placed there.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, on consent agenda, item 4, Red Bank Citizen Scholarship Award Program, resolution number 26-1897. I am going to read from the email that I received from Red Bank High School staff who recommended the student, Sierra McFarland, to receive this citizenship award. Sierra came to Red Bank High School for the Future Ready Institute in Coding, but has also invested throughout the school community. Within the Institute, she has researched, designed, and programmed an educational game focusing on math skill gaps, and she has been accepted into East Tennessee State University, my alma mater, and Blue Cross's Blue Sky program. She has been incredible. That partnership is just phenomenal. She has been in the Blue Lion Marching Band. She catalogs all the music for other band members and has performed national anthem solos for basketball for 2 years, as well as participating in the seasonal pep band. As part of the Beta Club, she has participated in creating cards and sending notes to residents at Life Care Center of Red Bank. As part of the National Honor Society, she has helped with the holiday food drives benefiting the Red Bank Community Food Pantry, and has also volunteered at the Ronald McDonald House. So we're very happy and excited to be able to award the annual Red Bank Citizenship Scholarship Award to Sierra, and I will be presenting the award to her at the Senior Awards Night on May the 6th. That's it. Anybody have any questions or comments?
That is a really big deal, Blue Sky. It's an awesome program. They go through computer science in 27 months, completely funded, and it's just awesome.
Yeah, it's incredible. Thank you for adding that information. That's so exciting for her. All right, moving on to item 5 on our consent agenda, recognize April 22, 2026 as National Administrative Professionals Day. Resolution number 26-1899, Director Perry.
So as you know, we've tried to recognize all of our staff in some way. So this time I'll be recognizing the administrative professionals that we have in Red Bank. National Administrative Professionals Day recognizes the professionals who keep an office running smoothly every day. These office heroes were initially celebrated for the first time in 1952 by the U.S. Secretary of Commerce to spotlight the indispensable work of secretaries, National Secretaries Week. By 1981, it was recognized that a broader range of administrative roles were crucial to office operations, and the name was updated to encompass all administrative professionals, making the celebration more inclusive. Administrative professionals play an essential role in coordinating the office operations of businesses, government, educational institutions, and other organizations. The work of administrative professionals today requires advanced knowledge and expertise in communications, computer software, office technology, organization, customer service, and other vital office responsibilities. Administrative Professionals Day is observed annually in workplaces around the world to recognize the important contributions of administrative support staff. And Administrative Professionals Day celebrates and sheds light on the administrative professionals devoted to value work. So now we ask that the Commission of the City of Red Bank, Tennessee does hereby proclaim that April 22nd, 2026 shall be known as Administrative Professionals Day, saluting all of the amazing administrative professionals who positively contribute to offices within this community, as well as dedicate themselves to the administrative profession.
Thank you. Fantastic. And thank you to all of our administrative professionals that help keep our city running. No comments or questions about that. We'll move on to item 6 on our consent agenda, approved contract with Wright Brothers for paving from Brownstown to Gab Road. Resolution number 26-1900, Director Tate.
Thank you, Mayor. Commissioners, if you approve this resolution, I may fund it.
It's happening.
It's happening.
It's happening.
So this resolution is to authorize the city to enter into an agreement with Wright Brothers Construction for construction of pin 130-155, resurfacing from Browntown Road to Gad Road. Ms. Perry has a document up here that's available on our website under Public Works in the Capital Projects tab. And this is a little paper. I just updated it this afternoon. It's got some costs there. You can see the construction costs for Wright Brothers. That's Volker, NEPA Design CI. That's Volker's portion of the contract that we have to pay them. We've paid a large portion of that. We still owe them some of that money. And then some TDOT expenses. And the total estimate that I'm calculating to complete this is $491,000. But we have funding secured through either the MPO, the original grant, additional money from the MPO. And if you remember, about a year and a half ago, they wouldn't let us proceed with this project because they said we were $125,000 underfunded. So the commission passed a resolution to allocate an additional $125,000 to continue the project. But hopefully, I'm not speaking out of turn, but I'm believing that this project is going to come in under that amount, significantly under that amount. So, but this resolution will authorize the city manager to sign the agreement with Wright Brothers. And this agreement is not the total contract. And I was explaining to Mr. Stoltz last commission meeting, there's an 83-page book that TDOT provides. It's called a bid book. It has all of the requirements for the city, for the construction company, the consultant, and everybody meeting federal highway requirements for our disadvantaged business enterprises, what our terms are as far as our portion of the payment, and just a whole list of things. And included in that was Wright Brothers' proposal to pay at that price. And so that's what we'll be signing, the city manager will be signing to agree with Wright Brothers to pay for that price. Once I get that to TDOT, then we'll start scheduling a series of pre-construction meetings and a couple other events that will take place. And then Wright Brothers is telling me right now that they're hoping to start paving by May 15th. So if we can get the meetings coordinated, of course, that means we have to invite TDOT folks, and it's going to be on their timetable. So we can get that started.
So thank you very much. The completion anticipated to June of 2026.
Yes.
Was that for like a piece of the contract or?
Well, it's a, there's actually a 60-day window. Once they get the notice to proceed, they have 60 days to complete the project. That actually pushes out to July, but I don't anticipate it taking that long.
Okay.
Now, the project may not close out to July because once they can finish my goal is to get the construction completed. And if we can get that done, they're saying 2 to 3 weeks. If we can get that done and get the invoice, get it paid, close it out this fiscal year, then there may be a notice goes out for final invoices in case somebody forgot to turn something in. That very seldom happens.
7 years, almost.
For 2 weeks.
And incredible.
7 years and 2 weeks.
That's all. Okay. Excellent. Do we have any questions or comments about that?
Is there much weather problems or delays due to the weather?
The only thing that really delays, if it's terribly wet, then yes. But, the wet weather doesn't bother the milling, when they're grinding the surface down. But yeah, putting down the new asphalt, but I look at the weather every day and I'm just praying for sunny weather. It's kind of like going on vacation. Just anticipate it.
Mayor,
Mr. Green.
Mr. Page, please give the commission just a thumbnail sketch of what kind of outreach we're gonna have on this.
Okay, so Mr. Pham is preparing one of his fantastic videos. He partnered with myself and Caleb Barnett, our street supervisor, and we did some on-the-street interviews, and then he's included some planning about, what we're trying to do on the north end. We're trying to put in sidewalks and, how this is going to play into future plans. And so he's working on that. He was going to try to have it finished, but he's probably,
Worth the wait.
yeah, it's worth the wait. It will be fantastic when he's done with it. Yeah, so, yeah, he thinks he may have it finished by Friday, but he's a perfectionist. I don't expect anything else.
Wonderful. And then that will be shared out on our social media and on our website. Fantastic. Can't wait. Thank you. All right. We'll move on to item 7, appointment of Attorney Brian Haas as the interim Red Bank City Court Judge, resolution number 26-1898. Mr. Randall.
Thank you, Mayor and Commission. This essentially, we've been sort of in a monthly loop. And this repositions us into this one-time appointment where Judge Haas will serve now until the next election, 6 August. And once that election is certified, usually it's about a month, then we would have a seated elected judge, and he will serve until that time. And there's a very nice article on Times Free Press that kind of outlines that as well. So if anybody's really interested, they can check that out.
Thank you. And Mr. Haas knows that we will be.
Yes, thank you for reminding me, Mayor. He plans to attend this evening.
Okay.
And I would expect him wanting to make a remark perhaps after the commission actually takes their action.
Thank you. All right, if we have no questions about that, we'll move on to citizen comments on items on this work session agenda. Mr. Brandon.
Thank you, Mayor. This is the time for citizen comments. Please observe these rules. Comments are limited to 2 minutes here in work session or less, and the city recorder will operate a timer. If time expires, please respect her direction and conclude any comments. Comments should be addressed to the board as a whole and not to a particular commissioner or to city staff or to the audience. The commission is here to listen, not to respond or engage back and forth, so please do not expect a reply during citizen comment. Citizens are now invited to the podium. Please begin by stating your name and address.
Clifford McKay, 2618 Berkeley. Couple of kudos. First of all, Ms. Slade, great presentation. I enjoyed it immensely. And second of all, I'm glad I heard the voices of reason that sometimes you just got to say no about certain things. It makes you hate it.
Thank you, Mr. McKay. Any further comment? Okay, no further comments. Is there any other business to discuss at this time? Nope. Okay. In that case, we'll go ahead and adjourn this work session and we will return at 6 o'clock for our regular meeting.